Alright, so tonight I'm gonna be telling y'all a story. It's about a old like what you call nursing home. Yeah, a lot of people stayed that was real poor, but the government threw them a bone, man, because the people basically built the town that it was in. All them years of labor, their ancestors worked as slaves, and so before the guy that ran the town passed on, he said at least he'll put something together just so they'll have them a place to had them a place to rest for the rest of their days or whatever. So it was this place, and it wasn't the nicest of places, man. It wasn't really nice. It was run down. It was understaffed, but it gave them a place. It gave them a place, man, and for them, they was appreciative. They ain't like how we is today. Back in these times, people, it's like their expectations weren't that high, so it didn't take much for them to be, satisfied. Us today, man, I done been in some nursing homes, man, and I'm looking around and I'm looking at how the paint on the walls is, and I'm just checking everything out. But there's certain people, man, they just happy to have somewhere to lay their head at, you know what I'm saying? So, just something to think about, just something to think about. But here at this nursing home, it ended up burning down in the 70s. It had been around for a while, but it ended up burning down in the 70s. And the place, some people say it was haunted. Some people say that, it was just like happening. Like, just a lot of things ended up happening. And it just kind of all happened at the right time in the right place. So it kind of just depends on who you talk to. But it was so much pain that, man, so many people, forgotten about, fading away, not having a proper care. Families, moved on, and a lot of people, man, they got up out that country. A lot of people, man, they couldn't wait to, get the chance to go up north to Chicago or something like that. That's how my granddaddy was, man. My granddaddy, you know, they was first soon as they got the chance, boy, they was on their way to up out of Mississippi. So that's how things was, man. So a lot of people got left. A lot of the older generation ended up getting left there, and not having. Let me make sure my sound is good, because I'm just sitting there talking. Is my sound okay? Okay, y'all can hear me, man. This my junk just froze up, man. Anyway, what's up? Just be real. Curse echoes. Yeah, y'all gonna like this story right here, man. This is a good one. This is a good one for you to sit back and go to sleep to too. If you got the courage, man, this is a good one to lay back and catch you a good little nap too, man. Well, it's nighttime. It's sleep time. But I'm just trying to lay some of the foundation of the town and the story, just so y'all have like a little idea. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get into it, man, because it's something else, man. Like, man, it's sometimes, man, people horror stuff, man, and what they don't realize, man, it's not about that. What it's about is me personally, it makes me appreciative, man. And it just make me appreciate what I got in life, man. It make me think that make me realize that I got a good that, man. You know, sometimes we don't realize how good we get. So just sometimes when I do these stories, man, I just sit back and say, dang, make me cherish what I got a little bit more. Cause sometimes, man, you be looking at what you got and you look at your bank account and all that, man, you'll be depressed walking around this mug, man. You know what I'm saying? If you walk around looking at what you got and shoot, you'll be depressed, man. So, you know, I just say that it helps me because I realize that, I could have it a lot worse. And some people do have it a lot worse. So that's all. But anyway, let's get to this story. So this is an old novel that somebody sent me. And they said they never really finished it and finished all the editing. So they told me if anything ain't clicking, just kind of work through it. What up, Lucky? So, I'm gonna see it. I haven't read it myself, so hopefully it's not too jumbled up and mixed up. Hopefully it makes some kind of sense. But yeah, they wrote this and they were gonna, go and try to make a book out of it, but apparently the author came up missing and nobody ever known what happened to him. And the family passed the book around, but nobody wanted to do anything with it because they was all scared. So I'm gonna read starting chapter 1. So the pictures that's in the background, y'all, it's just a little something showing from back in the day, just to give y'all something to look at if you want something to look at. What's up, Breezy? All right, we got a nice little crowd in here. So all right, here we go, man. Y'all sit on back and let's get it. Okay, chapter 1. Exit out of some of these screens so my computer don't be slowing down and get some of these tabs closed. Gosh, man, close. And to get these tabs closed. Check. All right, so here we go. Chapter 1. It was my first day at the Delta Dreams nursing home, and I could feel the weight of history just pressing down on me when I stepped through the threshold. The air was like thick and had this scent of antiseptics and something else, like something old. And I was the newest employee in a place where the past seemed to linger on in the corners like old cobwebs. Now, I done heard the stories, of course, tales of hauntings and spirits, that wandered through the halls, but I never put much stock in ghost stories. That was until I met her, Miss Eloise. She was the one everybody whispered about, like a silent specter who just had a look that could freeze your soul, man. And they said she hadn't spoken a word in years. Said she was as much as a ghost or any of the little phantoms that was rumored to roam around the home. Some people just knew for a fact that she was a ghost. That's why they hated to walk, see her across sites with her. They would hate to see her even out the window. Now, while I made my way down this little dimly lit little corridor, I could hear the murmur of the residents, the creaks of wheelchairs, the sound of the river lapping up against the banks. It was a sound that was said to carry the whispers of the dead. a lullaby for the lost souls of the Delta. My task was simple: introduce myself to the residents and make sure they were comfortable. But while I approached Miss Eloise's room, my heart was racing, and her door was kind of open. And through the crack, I could see like a silhouette of her standing against the window, staring out into the night. And I called her name and kind of tapped the door open a little bit, and she ain't say nothing. And I stepped inside, and my eyes was trying to get right with the light. It's like she had candles and junk lit up in her house. And I told her I'm new here. And she turned around and our eyes met, and her eyes was deep like dark pools that seemed to hold the secrets of the Delta itself. And then to my shock, she spoke to me. She said, "Welcome to Delta Dreams." And her voice was just like a whisper, but it just filled the room up at the same time. And she said, "You will learn soon enough that this place is more than it seems. Listen to the river, listen to the walls. They speak through this. It's the truths that this world has forgotten." And I stood there just like rooted to this spot. And she turned back to the window and the room went quiet again. But I knew I had just crossed the threshold of my own. And I seen just from what she said that there wasn't no ordinary nursing home. And I wasn't no ordinary employee. I was one that understood that I better listen to what's going on here. Because there's some secrets up in this place. So this where my journey began, not with just a tour of the facility, but with a haunting like introduction to the mysteries that's up in here. Now, that's pretty nice, man. That's a nice little setup, y'all. I don't know about what y'all think, but that was a nice little setup, man. I gotta read some more of this, man. I stepped into Delta Dreams nursing home like a lost soul, my sneakers squeaking on the linoleum floor. The place smelled of old folks and regret, like the ghosts of forgotten dreams lingered in the air. The year was 74, and the Mississippi Delta had a way of swallowing you whole. My supervisor, Miss Betty, handed me a clipboard with a list of names. "Welcome to the home, child," she said, her voice gravelly from years of cigarettes. "You'll be taking care of our folks here. They got stories, you know. Some sweet as peach cobbler, others darker than midnight." Y'all want me to try to do some voices for these people? I nodded, trying to ignore the chill that crawled up my spine, and the hallway stretched ahead, its flickering fluorescent lights casting shadows that danced like restless spirits. And I glanced at the names on my list: Mr. Leroy, Miss Ruby, and Miss Eloise. They said she'd been here since the dawn of time. Her room tucked away at the end of the corridor, and nobody dared to go near it after dark. "She's the one who never talks," Miss Betty whispered. "But she sees things, child, that we ain't meant to see." Hmm. Ooh, wee. So let me see, they kind of repeated the same thing from Miss Eloise. So he said that going a little more into detail with that conversation he had with what she had. I'm thinking it's a female that wrote this story. So she said, "When I had knocked on the door, my knuckles was trembling. The wood groaned as the door swung open, revealing a room frozen in time. Faded floral wallpaper, a cracked mirror, and a single rocking chair facing the window. And there she was, like this ancient queen. Her eyes like murky river water. Her voice barely louder than a breath. But like I said, it was a whisper that filled the whole room. And when she talked to me, she just kept staring out at the moonlit delta. And the window rattled and the wind carried the distant wail of a harmonica. And I just shivered. She also had asked me if I ever heard the river sing. I said, "The river?" She nodded. her fingers tracing invisible patterns on the armrest of her chair. The Mississippi got memories, child. It remembers the cotton pickers, the bluesmen, the souls lost in the floods. But there's one soul it can't forget. And man, I was drawn like a moth to the flame, and I said, who? And she said, me. I've been here since the beginning, seen folks come and go, seen love and loss, and the spirits, they visit me, they whisper secrets in my ear. And I glanced around the room, just half expecting like a ghostly quiet arise from the floorboards. Oh, what kind of secrets? And her eyes looked into me, and I had to turn my head a little bit. The kind that'll keep you up at night, child. The kind that'll make you question what's real. You listen real close, and maybe you'll hear them too. And as I left her room, the hallway seemed longer, the shadows were thicker, the harmonica wailed louder, and the air smelled of damp earth and sorrow. And I wondered what secrets the Delta held, what she knew that the rest of us didn't know. And as the moon dipped below the horizon, I heard it, the faintest whisper, like the river itself was speaking. I was trying to make out what it was saying. Oh yeah, this is good, bro. This is a good story right here. This is a good story right here, man. This is a good story right here. I like this junk, man. God dang. Curse Echoes say this hit close to home. I grew up in an old folks' home. My grandmother worked there. Wow. So yeah, I know this one, man. I know this bringing back some memories. You should put some of that down on paper. Put something down on paper, man. I like to hear about that. What years you talking about? 90s, 80s? Let me, what years you talking about? You probably got some good stories yourself. So chapter 2. The Delta night was a blanket of darkness, thick and suffocating. As I made my way through the silent halls of Delta Dreams, the air was still. The only sound, the soft shuffling of my feet against the warm floor, and I could feel the eyes of the residents on me. Their gaze is heavy with years of living and dying in this place. And I paused outside her door, the memory of her voice still echoing in my mind. The spirits, they whisper secrets. I shook my head, trying to just knock that chill that crept up my spine. I was here to work, man, not chase after these ghost stories. And I needed the money, and my family needed me to make the money. But as the night wore on, man, the whispers, I don't know, it's like my mind just wanted to hear it or something. And it wasn't just in my head, it was like in the walls, the ceiling, the air around me. It's like these thoughts about cotton fields and, that blues she was talking about, the floods, the famine, the love lost, the muddy waters of the Delta. And I felt myself just like kind of drawn to the common room where the residents gathered during the day. But now it was empty except for the flickering light of the television casting ghostly images on the wall. And I sat down in one of the chairs, the fabric worn thin by countless others before me. And that's when I saw her, Miss Eloise. I think it was her at least, standing in the corner of the room. Her eyes was like fixed on something but it wasn't nothing there. Do you see them? Do you see it? See who? I said. The children, she said. And she pointed to an empty space before her. They come to play, to dance. They trapped here, just like the rest of us. And I squinted trying to see what she saw, but it was nothing. Just like the lingering scent of dust and decay. But then, like I started hearing children laughing, but I was like, I can't really hear this. This gotta just be my mind playing tricks on me, right? And this cold breeze like swept through, sending like shivers down my spine, man. So I stood up and I backed away from her. And I'm like, man, this can't be real, man. There ain't no way this junk real, bro. You in here tripping. You need to calm down. Calm on down, okay? It's real as the Delta's mud. You'll learn, child. You'll learn that the dead speak to those who listen. And I got up and ran. And when I'm running, I'm hearing that laugh and I'm hearing footsteps behind me. And I didn't stop until I reached the safety of the nursery station where the other staff members was at. And they just chatting and laughing and just oblivious to what's going on. They shadows was like mocking me or something. And I tried to catch my breath and I realized that either I'm tripping or I'm either the only one that's seeing this stuff. And I only been here like I just got here. It's like, man, I, I know I'm kind of a superstitious person, so maybe I'm kind of bringing this to myself, but I gotta talk to the other nurses. It's something this is something I'm doing to myself. I need to relax. Oh, this is nice, man. This is a good story, bro. This is a good story. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, this is good. Oh, let me pull up the next chapter, man. Let's see. Okay, let me get this pulled up. Yeah, this is nice. Okay, so chapter 3. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow, on the floor. It was a new day at the nursing home, and the residents stirred from their slumber like old clocks winding up. And I found myself in the common room again, the smell of coffee mingling with the faint scent of lavender from Miss Ruby's room. She was a feisty one, always demanding extra cream in her coffee and telling stories of her days as a juke joint singer. And her voice was once powerful, but now it was cracked like the vinyl records that she used to smear. But she could still carry a little tune. And Mr. Leroy sat by the window, his gnarled hands gripping the seal. He'd been a sharecropper in his youth, the Delta soil embedded in his veins. He said the soil is still in his fingernails to this day. He can never get it out. Mr. Morning, sir, he said, his eyes squinting against the light. You ever seen a cotton field at sunrise? And I have, but I played along, man. One thing with old people, don't steal their thunder for them. Let them have their moment, man. It's just being courteous. Well, he chuckled, it's like the whole world's on fire. The cotton blooms turn pink and the dews sprinkle like diamonds. But it's hard work, back-breaking work. And Miss Eloise was already in her rocking chair, her gaze fixed on the courtyard outside. She didn't acknowledge me, but I knew she knew I was there. Her silence was a mystery, a puzzle I couldn't solve. Maybe she's seen too much, heard too much in her lifetime. Maybe it's just ain't that she supernatural, but maybe she just done seen so much that. And as the residents gathered for breakfast, the room buzzed with conversation. And Miss Ruby complained about the scrambled eggs, and Mr. Leroy reminisced about the old blues that they used to listen to at the juke joints with her. And the TV blared the morning news. Now when that news came on, everybody kind of sat there. But after the main stories, they kind of stopped paying attention to it and started telling their own stories. And then there was me, caught between the past and the present. And I poured coffee for everybody and for Miss Eloise, and she nodded her thanks at me. And her eyes was a little softer than they was at night, you know. At nighttime she was intimidating and but in the daytime it was almost just like she was kind of normal. And I thought I kind of heard her say something. I thought I did. And I kind of stood there for a little minute, seeing if she would say it again or whatever the case was. And she said, listen, the Delta ain't just ghosts and blues. The Delta is survival. I said, what do you mean? And she made me look towards the window, see that oak tree. Been there longer than any of us. It's seen floods and fires, and folks come and go, but it stands just like we do. And in that moment, surrounded by the morning chatter and the smell of burnt toast, I understood that maybe it's not like evil presences. Maybe it's just people who want their story to be told. People who was fighting to survive. And, now maybe even they happy to see that we made it to where we made it at. Maybe it's not as creepy as I, think. You know, maybe it's maybe it's some life here. Okay, so now the main character think that they starting to feel a little easy. So what y'all think? You think it's finna turn dark on them? Yeah, I think it's finna get dark on them now, boy. Let me get chapter 4 pulled up. Let's see, uh, yeah, I think something real dark finna happen. Okay. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the courtyard, and I settled into the rhythm of the Delta dreams. The resident story. The resident stories became part of my own. But there was one story that didn't fit the one, Miss Eloise had whispered about. Late one night when the moon hung heavy in the sky, I found her sitting by the window, her eyes fixed on the distant horizon. I just watched her. I wanted to say something to her, but every time she said something to me, it shook me to my core. So I figured maybe I'd be better suited. I want to spend a little time talking with somebody else. So I went to talk to one of the other old ladies there, and just was asking her about the past and anything that ever, happened, and just little things that people might not know about. And she turned to me and she said, "Child, this nursing home ain't just a place for old folks. It's a cover up, a smoke screen." I said, "What you talking about?" And she said, "Back in the days, this building housed more than the elderly. It was a secret government facility, and they experimented on folks, mind control, chemical tests, and they thought nobody would notice, but the word got out." Now here I was completely like, I'm like, no way, like, what is this lady tripping? Like, what is she talking about? And I said, "Here? Like, you sure?" Nobody cares about poor black folk. They thought we wouldn't talk because they gave us a couple of dollars and a chicken and a bag of rice. And I said, "So did people talk? Like, And she nodded. But they covered our voices up. But they couldn't take our memories. They tried to erase some of our minds. But we remembered. One night the experiments went wrong. Something blew up and people passed on, but the government covered it up and said it was an accident. We never got justice for that. Man, lady, I just couldn't believe what she was saying. It kind of just, at first everything was kind of like supernatural, but now they telling me that government had secrets here. But it's, I'm thinking maybe this lady mind just ain't, all there. Maybe it's something that they, maybe she just got a tripping around. So I decided to ask her a couple more questions. Hold on. This ain't, why is this not pulling up? Okay. Let me see, chapter 5. Uh, okay. So chapter 5. No problem. Oh man, it's the same stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of go through this and organize this stuff because it's saying this is the same. It's the same thing. Chapter 4 and 5 is the same. Okay, let me try chapter 6. Let me see if it's something different. So I ended up finding an article. Okay, no, hold on. So after I asked the lady some more questions, she kind of got quiet for a minute, almost like she didn't want to talk. She, I guess she got real quiet. Wouldn't even look at me. But then she pointed towards the cabinet over there in her little room, and I went over there to it and opened it up, and I seen a little folder. She told me to open it up, and I seen an article. The historical accounts of experiments conducted on residents and institutions and nursing homes from the 1940s and beyond. It was reported that government-funded research included unethical practices such as mind control and chemical testing. These experiments were carried out on vulnerable populations without their consent, exploiting individuals who were poor, disabled, or otherwise unable to advocate for themselves. In the context of our story, these dark experiments could have involved administering experimental drugs to residents under the guise of routine medication, or perhaps using psychological techniques to manipulate memory and behavior. The secrecy surrounding these activities add to their depression, with the truth being buried beneath layers of government covered up in denials. I don't know where she got this article from and how she, but it left me truly disturbed. Now here they got a link to an article from 2011. Read this to y'all. Yeah, this is let me read this. Ugly past of U.S. human experiments uncovered. Shocking as it may seem, U.S. government doctors once thought it was fine to experiment on disabled people and prison inmates. Such experiments included giving hepatitis to mental patients in Connecticut. And see, with these things, man, they always, whenever you see these articles, they always talk about certain locations, but they don't talk about all locations. So here you see they talking about Connecticut. But bro, why don't you talk about all the stuff that was going on in Mississippi, in Georgia, in Alabama, in Louisiana? They want to talk about that. They want to talk about a certain groups of people, man. But this stuff happened in a lot of places. But let me see. Maybe I'm judging this article too early. Maybe they do. Giving hepatitis to mental patients in Connecticut, squirting a pandemic flu virus up the noses of prisoners in Maryland, and injecting cancer cells into chronically ill people at a New York hospital. Much of this historic history is 40 to 80 years old, but is the backdrop for a meeting in Washington this week by a presidential bioethics commission. Let me check what y'all comments say. What's up, Misunderstood? You might have to go back and rewatch some of this one, man. This is a good story, I think, that I was telling before. But right now, I'm talking about it had a link in here going to this article. Dang, so is this book trying to tell me something? Okay, yeah, I guess so, huh? Much of this horrific history is 40 to 80 years old, but it's the backdrop for a meeting in Washington this week by a presidential bioethics commission. This meeting was triggered by the government's apology last fall for federal doctors injecting prisoners and mental patients in Guatemala with syphilis 65 years ago. U.S. officials also acknowledged that there have been dozens of similar experiments in the United States and studies that often involve making healthy people sick. An exhaustive review by the Associated Press of Medical Journal reports that decades-old press clippings found more than 40 such studies. At best, these were a search for life-saving treatments. At worst, some amounted to curiosity-satisfying experiments that hurt people but provided no useful results. Inevitably, they will be compared to the well-known Tuskegee syphilis study. In that episode, U.S. health officials tracked 600 black men in Alabama who already had syphilis but didn't give them adequate treatment even after penicillin became available. These studies were worse in at least one respect. They violated the concept of first do no harm, a fundamental medical principle that stretches back centuries. As a doctor, man, your main thing's supposed to be that, you can't do stuff that's going to harm people. Like, no matter what you do, at least you can say, I didn't harm nobody. That's how it's supposed to go. When you give somebody a disease, even by the standards of that time, you really cross the key ethical norm of the profession. Okay, how long is this? Okay, this is yeah, that's pretty long. Yeah, it ain't too long. But yeah, that's an interesting article, man. Okay, so this is why a lot of people, man, a lot of black people to this day, a lot of people in general don't trust doctors. That's a lot of black people, man, who just they ain't even thinking about it. That's the last thing on their mind is going to the doctor. It's the last thing on their mind. So hold on. Let me get this pulled up. I got something else I want y'all to see. this was pretty interesting, man. See, the Mississippi Delta is it's a very strange place, man. Like it's a place where it's a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of poverty. A lot of people say that it's the worst place they've seen in at America. You know, a lot of people say, man, the stuff that they done seen there have the stuff they seen is just crazy, man. Okay, so check this out. And this is today, man. This is how people living up in that mug today. Like I ain't even going. I'm talking about this what folk going through. Like right now, boy. Hold on a sec. Check this out. Oops, I ain't mean to do that. This from 2017. Ot Bahia Ate Bahia Allen is a single mother who lives in a rented mobile home. I'm pretty sure I said her name right. In the isolated poor community where she grew up among the cotton and soybean fields of the Mississippi Delta. During the summer that feels like a sauna, the trailer's air conditioner is conked out. Some nights Allen and her 5 children find cooler accommodation with friends and relatives. Other nights they sleep in a trailer with box fans circulating the stuffy air. Allen works 30 hours a week as a data entry clerk and transportation dispatcher for a medical clinic, pulling in barely over minimum wage. She ain't got no car, and public transportation is not widely available. To get from home in Jonestown to work or even to go grocery shopping about 13 miles away in Clarksdale, Allen often pays people for a ride, sometimes $20 a pop. Dang, they busting her head. $20 for 13 miles, boy. Shoot. In Atlanta, man, Uber, I be doing Uber, man. I do a 13-mile trip. I ain't even getting $10. It's not easy raising 5 children alone. She said this fighting back tears. No, you didn't ask me to have them, true. So I chose to. So that means I'm responsible for these people. Persistence poverty shapes daily existence in an expansive agricultural flatland that gave birth to the blues. Jobs are scarce, schools struggle for funding, tens of thousands of families receive government food aid and health care. 50 years ago, Democratic Senator Robert F. Kennedy of New York and Joe Clark of Pennsylvania toured the Delta and saw ramshackle houses and starving children. Curtis Wilkie is a young reporter covering the senator's tour for a Delta newspaper, the Clarksdale Press Register. At one stop, Wilkie recalled there was a little infant in a dirty diaper crawling around on the floor and eating rice. Grains of rice that were on the floor that were dirty. Kennedy knelt by the child and didn't say a word and was stroking the little child's cheek and his forehead. Mississippi's congressional delegation of 67, led by Democratic Senator James Eastland and Johnston's representatives, resisted federal funding for food programs and for Head Start, a preschool program that many conservatives saw as a threat to the state's white segregationist power structure because it educated poor black children. So, man, a lot of times, bro, people going through this stuff because they put stuff in power to keep it like that. Wilkie said the trip had an enormous impact on Kennedy, whose eyes welled with tears at the sight of the child. No question that once he got back to Washington, he became a more passionate advocate for rural people. He ran for president in '68. Moments after winning the California primary, he was assassinated. So yeah, they didn't mess. They ain't like them Kennedys, man. Them Kennedys was something rough. Uh, People to be dependent on. Phil Bryant in '54 was born in '54. He frequently said he doesn't want people to be dependent on government. Under his tenure, Mississippi's been one of 19 states rejecting expansion of Medicaid, the federal state health for the poor, under the health care law signed by former President. Man, that's just crazy. Ryan, who supports Donald Trump, says job creation is the best way to combat poverty. Since he became governor, Mississippi has offered incentives to attract 2 tire manufacturing plants. One is open, one is being built, and neither is in the Delta. Yeah, when these politicians promise stuff, man, it don't usually end up going to the places that they promise it to. You know what I'm saying? It usually end up going where they want it to go, where they feel like they'll have the best benefit from it. So just wanted to read a little something, man, about how that poverty is over there, and bro, that might be about all I can do tonight. It's been a long weekend. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm tired, man. I'm tired. But I just wanted to give y'all a little something, man. I'm trying to, come through and spend some time with y'all every night. And I hope y'all appreciate all I can do. And I appreciate all y'all can do, man. So thank y'all for coming through and watching. If y'all like that story, man, hit the like button and try to tell them to send me some more of it, because it is pretty good, man. I just need to kind of put it together a little bit, because it's like all the thoughts and stuff is scattered. But if y'all like that story, let me know and I'll get some more to it, and I'll let y'all know what else happened. And if y'all like hearing about the Mississippi Delta, man, that's where my grandma from. So if y'all like hearing about the Delta, man, I like talking about it. So it's a very unique place. So yeah, appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. And thank y'all for the ones who hit the Cash App. Thank y'all for the ones who hit the like button. Thank y'all for the ones who became members of the channel. Everybody who do their parts, man. All parts mean something, okay? I don't care how big, how small. Everything everybody do helps. So thank y'all, man. Love y'all, and I'll see y'all tomorrow night.